When time steals our years away, shall steal our pleasures too. The memory of the past will stay, and half our joys renew.
Hello and welcome. This is a strategy to end drug dealing in public housing. It was made by the HIV Consumer Alliance of Western Australia. The Facebook page is on the screen and it's entitled Make Housing Safe Again, End Drug Dealing in Public Housing.
Almost everything we think we know about addiction is wrong. You get a rat and you put it in a cage and you give it 2 water bottles. One is just water and the other is water laced with either heroin or cocaine. If you do that, the rat will almost always prefer the drug water and almost always kill itself quite quickly. Professor Alexander comes along and he looks at this experiment and he noticed something. We're putting the rat in an empty cage. So Professor Alexander built a cage that he called Rat Park. In Rat Park, they don't like the drug water. You go from almost 100% overdose when they're isolated to 0% overdose when they have happy and connected lives. What if addiction is an adaptation to your environment? Human beings have a natural and innate need to bond. And when we're happy and healthy, we'll bond and connect with each other. But if you can't do that because you're traumatized or isolated or beaten down by life, you will bond with something that will give you some sense of relief. The opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection.
In the galaxy where stars align, a robot plays in zero gravity. He's shining bright with moves so sublime. Follow a James Window 17 on X.com for all to see. Spacecraft soaring through the cosmic sea, images of dreams that we all can see. From the depths of space, pure creativity. Follow a James Window 17 on X.com. Join the spree. Join the spree.
All across Australia, concerns are being raised about the out-of-control meth epidemic and the crime wave that results from black market drug dealing. There is a perception in the community that policy makers in government and the NGOs who deliver taxpayer-funded services are privileging the chaotic lifestyles of drug users over the duty of care to provide tenants with safe housing and the rights of the community to live in safety. The growing housing crisis also enables the idea of some that tenants in public or social housing are lucky to have a house and thus should put up with unsafe living conditions. Comments made to members of the HIV Consumer Alliance of WA suggest that there is an attitude that people on low incomes need to accept that they must live surrounded by the crime and violence caused by this out-of-control meth usage. The inclusion of criminal background checks into the housing selection process needs to happen as a matter of urgency to ensure that people with known violent tendencies and meth dealing histories are not placed in houses next to vulnerable populations, including the elderly, disabled and recovering victims of domestic violence. The criminal justice system and Indigenous services need to provide housing to enable inmates to transition safely into the community with supports to prevent re-offending. There needs to be more housing provided on country for Indigenous people to enable meth addicts to rehabilitate and reconnect with their communities. More needs to be done to enable people in social housing, especially those with disabilities, to access part-time employment without the penalty of high rental increases. Drug dealing should be treated as a business and the rents of drug dealers should be increased to commercial rates to take account of the large profits that are being made by drug dealing in public or social housing. Dumping people in the community and turning a blind eye to the crime and violence that results is not a good public health solution. Everyone has the right to be safe in their housing, free from harassment, including low-income people. The aim of this policy is to provide members of the community with the language structures with which to engage with the debate as we head toward the WA state election, which will be held on the 8th of March 2025. If you are concerned about this meth epidemic and the domestic violence and crime that this is directly causing, then now is the time to act. We suggest you contact your local Member of Parliament and tell them you want action. If you are on x.com, then the Minister for Housing for WA is at John Carey Perth, and we know his office loves to hear from the members of the community. Make sure you tag the Liberal opposition and the Premier of Western Australia, Roger Cook, so that they are aware that members of the community want real action to make housing safe again. We've made some lovely images here for people if they want to share them on social media. These are available at the HIV Consumer Alliance Facebook page. These images were made by Grok XAI, which is a great resource if you're a premium member of x.com. One of the big problems with the meth epidemic is the fact that people are throwing away their used syringes, and they are an unsafe, dangerous thing for the health of all people. Children can stick them in their feet, and so we need to start making the service providers accountable for the needles that they are making available to the community. So this is the HIV Consumer Alliance of WA's strategy to end drug dealing in public housing. To effectively prevent drug dealing in social housing, a multifaceted approach involving community, legal and social interventions is necessary. Here's how it could be addressed. 1. Community engagement. Tenant engagement. Encourage residents to form neighbourhood watch groups or tenant associations that monitor and report suspicious activities. This community policing approach leverages local knowledge and increases vigilance. Education programs. Implement education programs that inform residents about the signs of drug dealing, how to report it safely, and the community benefits of a drug-free environment. 2. Policy and legal framework. Strong lease agreements. Include explicit clauses in lease agreements prohibiting drug-related activities. This gives legal ground for eviction if such activities are proven. Eviction for breach. Swift legal action should be taken against individuals involved in drug dealing according to the lease terms. This requires efficient legal processes to enforce evictions where drug activities are confirmed. Zero tolerance policies. Adopt policies similar to the one strike and you're out approach, which might involve immediate eviction for drug-related crimes, but balanced with due process to prevent abuse of power. 3. Physical security measures. Surveillance and lighting. Improve lighting and consider installing CCTV cameras in common areas to deter criminal activities and increase the likelihood of detection. Access control. Implement secure entry systems for buildings to limit who can enter, making it harder for non-residents to conduct drug deals within the premises. 4. Collaboration with law enforcement. Police partnerships. Work closely with the local law enforcement to monitor known drug hotspots and respond quickly to reports of drug dealing. Regular police patrols can act as a deterrent. Information sharing. Establish protocols for sharing information between housing management, residents and police to enable timely interventions. 5. Support services. Recovery and support programs. Provide or facilitate access to drug rehabilitation and support services for residents. This can help those struggling with addiction and potentially reduce the supply and demand for drugs within the housing. Employment and education. Offer pathways to employment or education which can reduce economic incentives for drug dealing by providing legitimate income sources. 6. Housing management. Tenant screening. While being careful not to violate fair housing laws, conduct thorough background checks to screen out individuals with recent histories of drug-related crimes or dealing. Property maintenance. Keep the property in good condition. A well-maintained environment can foster a sense of community pride and deter criminal activities. 7. Addressing vulnerability. Protecting vulnerable tenants. Implement measures to protect vulnerable tenants from being exploited through practices like cuckooing, where drug dealers take over a home to use as a base. 8. Legal tools. Injunctions and ASB orders. Use legal tools like antisocial behaviour injunctions that can restrict specific individuals from engaging in drug-related activities. 9. Community facilities. Provide alternatives. Develop community spaces where residents can engage in positive activities, reducing the time and opportunity for engaging in or encountering drug dealing. The key to success in such initiatives is ensuring that there's a balance between enforcement and support, recognising that punitive measures alone might not address the root causes of drug dealing. Community involvement, coupled with legal enforcement and support for rehabilitation, can create a holistic approach to reducing drug dealing in social housing. This is a strategy made by the HIV Consumer Alliance of WA with the assistance of Grok AI. Editor's note. Clearly this outcome demonstrates how effective health policies can be made without the influence of ideological frameworks pushed by political operatives in policy making. Grok AI suggests a future in which many jobs will be taken over by much more effective AI with the assistance of human managers. This will certainly benefit taxpayers who are burdened by the costs of the current cumbersome bureaucracy that stifles public policy development and provides spaces in which extremist political ideologies thrive. To access Grok AI, you have to be a premium subscriber of X.com. The HIV Consumer Alliance is concerned about the level of meth abuse and drug dealing in Western Australia. In the seat of Churchlands, there is a number of situations that require the attention of authorities. We're told that there is a group of flats where there are 91-year-old ladies, and their support workers have told the ladies that they cannot access their support services because the environment is too dangerous. Begs the question, if it's too dangerous for health workers to visit, then is it not too dangerous for 91-year-old ladies to live amongst drug dealing and violence? We have written to Christine Tonkin, who is the member for Churchlands, but we have not received a reply. So remember that political speech is protected under the Australian Constitution, and this has been confirmed by the High Court of Australia. This is a big issue that affects all West Australians. The HIV Consumer Alliance is aware that right across Western Australia there are problems with drug dealing in public housing, and it's time for people to start having discussions in the lead up to the election. Once they announce the election, they'll be scrambling, running around getting votes, and they won't have time to develop policy. So now is the time to make sure that the mainstream political parties and the minor parties hear your voice. And X.com is a great place for you to have your voice heard.
In the galaxy where stars align, a robot plays in zero gravity. He's shining bright with moves so sublime. Follow a James Window 17 on X.com for all to see. Spacecraft soaring through the cosmic sea, images of dreams that we all can see. From the depths of space, pure creativity. Follow a James Window 17 on X.com. Join the spree. Join the spree.
We appreciate everyone who watches our videos. Please like, share, subscribe and comment down below. To obtain copies of the Make Housing Safe Again imagery, then go to the Health Consumer Alliance's Facebook page. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Cuando el tiempo que nos roba los años nos robe también los placeres, el recuerdo del pasado se quedará y la mitad de nuestras alegrías se renovará. When time, who steals our years away, shall steal our pleasures too, the memory of the past will stay and half our joys renew. Then talk no more of future gloom, our joy shall always last, for hope shall brighten days to come and memory gild the past. Entonces no hables más de la tristeza futura, nuestras alegrías siempre durarán, porque la esperanza iluminará los días venideros y la memoria adoró el pasado.